The hum of the terminal at JFK was a low, vibrating drone that usually filled me with the excitement of travel. Today, it just felt like a headache. I gripped the handle of our carry-on a little tighter, my eyes scanning the crowd for a place where Sarah could sit down. Sarah looked pale, not just early morning flight tired, but the kind of translucent pale that comes from 6 months of aggressive chemotherapy. She was wearing a soft cashmere beanie to cover her thinning hair and a high-quality N95 mask. We were finally cleared by her oncology team to fly to her sister's place in Vermont for a month of quiet recovery. It was a short flight, barely 45 minutes in the air, but for Sarah, it was a marathon. "You okay, honey?" I whispered, placing a hand on the small of her back. "Just a bit dizzy, Mark," she said, her voice thin but steady. "I just want to get to the seat and close my eyes." We had splurged on the bulkhead seats in the first row of economy, extra legroom so she could stretch out her joints, which often ached, and closer to the exit so we wouldn't have to fight the crush of people when we landed. It was a small luxury but a necessary one. The encounter begins. As the boarding call for Group 1 rang out, we shuffled toward the gate. We were in Group 2, but a kind gate agent saw Sarah's physical state and gestured for us to board early. We settled into 4A and 4B. Sarah leaned her head against the cool plastic of the window and let out a long, shaky breath. "We're here," I said, buckling her seatbelt for her. "Just 45 minutes and then we're in the woods." That's when I heard the clicking of high heels and the heavy sigh of someone who wanted the world to know they were inconvenienced. A woman stood in the aisle, clutching a designer handbag and a lukewarm latte. She looked at Sarah, then at me, then at the seat numbers. She was wearing a crisp white blazer and an expression of profound entitlement. "Excuse me," she said, her voice sharp, "you're in my seat." I looked up, confused. I pulled our boarding passes from my pocket. "4A and 4B, no, I think we're in the right spot." The woman didn't even look at my tickets, she just gestured vaguely at Sarah. "I have a medical condition. I specifically booked the bulkhead for my legs. My assistant must have messed up the check-in, but I spoke to the gate agent and they said I could take this row." Sarah stirred, opening her eyes. "Oh, I'm sorry, we have these assigned." "I don't think you understand," the woman said, her voice rising an octave. "Let's call her Linda. I have a very serious back issue. I cannot sit in the back. It's a health hazard for me. You look young, you can move." "My wife is recovering from surgery and treatment," I said, trying to keep my voice low and calm. "We booked these months ago specifically for her health needs. I'm sorry about your back, but we aren't moving." The escalation. Linda's face turned a mottled shade of red. She looked around the cabin, seeing that other passengers were now watching. Instead of backing down, she doubled down. "This is unbelievable," she scoffed. "The sick card, really? You look perfectly fine to me, you're just wearing that mask for attention. I, on the other hand, have a documented spinal misalignment." A flight attendant, a patient-looking man named David, hurried over. "Is there a problem here, ma'am?" Linda immediately changed her tone to one of a victim. "Yes, David, is it? I told the woman at the desk that I needed these seats for my medical emergency. These people are refusing to move and they're being very aggressive. My back is spasming as we speak." David looked at me. I handed him our boarding passes. "We have the confirmed seats, David. My wife is a cancer patient. We aren't being aggressive, we're just sitting in the seats we paid for." David checked the handheld device. "Ma'am," he said to Linda, "your seat is 12F, that's a window seat. These seats are correctly occupied." Linda let out a theatrical gasp. "I was told there was an override. I am a Diamond member. Do you know how much I fly with this airline? I am not sitting in row 12 like a peasant when my health is at risk." "I'm sorry, ma'am, but if the seat is occupied by the ticket holder, I can't force them to move," David explained. The lie that sealed her fate. This is where Linda made her fatal mistake. She looked at Sarah, who was now visibly trembling from the stress, and then back at the flight attendant. "Fine," Linda snapped. "If you won't move them for my back, move them because I am the one who is actually sick. I have a fever. I think I'm coming down with something contagious and I need to be near the front so I can get off quickly if I feel like I'm going to. You know, if you put me in the middle of a crowded row in the back, I'll be breathing all over everyone." The cabin went dead silent. In a post-pandemic world, "I have a fever and I'm contagious" is the one thing you never say on an airplane unless you want to be escorted out. David's expression shifted from customer service polite to security protocol serious. "Ma'am," David said, his voice dropping an octave, "did you just say you have a fever and are potentially contagious?" Linda, thinking she had found a loophole to get her way, nodded vigorously. "Yes, I feel terrible, my skin is burning, I really shouldn't be around all these people in the back, I need the space of the bulkhead to breathe." I saw Sarah's eyes go wide. She pulled her mask tighter against her face. If this woman actually had a fever, she was a direct threat to Sarah's compromised immune system. "David," I said, my voice shaking with anger, "if she is sick, she cannot be on this plane. My wife is immunocompromised. A simple flu could put her in the ICU." The climax. David nodded at me reassuringly. He stepped back and picked up the internal phone to talk to the captain. Linda stood there looking smug as if she were about to be handed a first-class upgrade for her illness. The passengers around us were whispering. A man in 5C leaned over. "Lady, if you're sick, get off the plane, don't bring that on here." "Mind your business," Linda snapped. A minute later, the lead gate agent, the one Linda claimed had given her permission, walked onto the plane followed by two ground security officers. "Ma'am," the gate agent said, addressing Linda, "I'm the one you spoke to at the desk. I told you specifically that the bulkhead was full and that I could not move you. You never mentioned a medical condition or a fever to me." Linda stammered, I was trying to be discreet, but I feel much worse now." The gate agent looked at the security guards. "Due to your own statement that you are currently ill with a fever and potentially contagious, the captain has exercised his right to deny you boarding for the safety of the other passengers and the crew." The look on Linda's face was priceless. The smugness evaporated, replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated shock. "What? No, I'm not that sick, I just meant I needed the seat." "Ma'am, you just told a flight attendant and a cabin full of witnesses that you are a health hazard," the security officer said, stepping forward. "We cannot allow you to fly, please gather your belongings and follow us." The resolution. "I'm not leaving, this is discrimination, I'm calling my lawyer," Linda began to scream. She made a scene, clutching the headrest of row 3, refusing to move. But the security officers were professionals. They didn't argue, they simply blocked the aisle and waited. "If you don't come voluntarily, we will have to remove you, and that will involve a permanent ban from this airline," the gate agent added. Linda looked around. She looked at me, I was glaring. She looked at Sarah, who looked exhausted and small. She looked at the 40 other passengers who were now filming the entire thing on their phones. "Fine," she shrieked, "this is the worst airline in the world, I hope you all crash." A collective gasp went through the cabin. The security officers took her by the arms firmly but gently and guided her off the plane. As she disappeared into the jet bridge, David, the flight attendant, let out a breath he'd been holding. He turned to the cabin. "I apologize for the delay, everyone, will have the door closed in just a moment." The entire plane, literally every person in the first few rows, started clapping. It wasn't a loud, raucous cheer but a satisfied, rhythmic applause. David leaned down to Sarah. "Are you okay, ma'am?" Sarah nodded, a small smile finally appearing on her face. "I'm okay, thank you." "I have a little surprise," David said. "Since that lady made such a fuss about emergencies, and since we have 2 empty seats in first class because of a late connection, would you two like to move up there? It's much quieter and we can make sure you're totally isolated from the rest of the cabin." The meaningful conclusion. I looked at Sarah. For the first time in months, I saw a spark of genuine joy in her eyes. "We'd love that," I said. As we moved to the very front of the plane, settling into the wide, plush leather seats of first class, the captain's voice came over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is the captain. We're sorry for the disruption. We value the safety and comfort of all our passengers, especially those who are fighting battles we might not see. We're cleared for takeoff." Sarah took my hand as the engines began to roar. She looked out the window at the tarmac where I could just barely see Linda standing through a glass window in the terminal, surrounded by security, looking absolutely miserable. Sarah leaned over and whispered, "I guess honesty really is the best policy, isn't it?" I kissed her forehead. Sometimes the world actually works the way it's supposed to. We spent the rest of the flight in total peace. Sarah slept the whole way, her breathing deep and even for the first time in weeks. When we landed in the crisp air of Vermont, I felt a weight lifted. The woman had tried to take a seat that wasn't hers, using a lie that she thought would make her untouchable. Instead, she found out that when you try to exploit the empathy of others for your own greed, you usually end up standing exactly where you belong, on the outside looking in. As for us, we had the best seat in the house.